How is the Delaware economy doing? To talk more about that, we welcome back John Boyd Jr., a consultant at the Boyd Economy Incorporated, and you deal with corporations moving in and out of states and getting new site selection, but you are also an expert on economic development. So always we appreciate you being here. Let me give you a general question. How are we doing?
Well, the past year has been a very good one for the state of Delaware, with AstraZeneca, Chemours, both announcing they're going to stay in Delaware. Of course, those projects could have gone to other states. Kraft Heinz also announced an expansion at their Dover facility. So that's a tremendous positive also.
Right, the expansion's a tremendous positive, but whenever you're talking about doing well because you're keeping the jobs you have or keeping the companies you have, you're not really doing that well.
Well, there's an old expression, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So economic development is about more than just attracting new industry. It's also about retaining the industry that you have.
I would think Delaware would be attractive to industry, to other companies, because of the tax structure here and because of the court system here. And yet, we haven't seen that as much as you would expect.
I think a game-changing factor for Delaware is the move towards a single sales factor formula for companies calculating their income tax. What this means is companies like AstraZeneca will be paying a state income tax based exclusively upon sales generated in Delaware. Now, for a small state like Delaware, that's a tremendous industry attraction tool.
You have a unique perspective because you get to hear about the decision-making process before it becomes a decision.
Sure.
When somebody's going to change a site, you're in there very early on to tell them, no, you should go here, you should go here. And so what's the attraction of Delaware? You talked about the taxes. Is that it?
Site selection is both a science and an art. I mean, the science is the quantitative analysis. The artistry, if you will, is the qualitative analysis, measuring the workforce, the access to good health care and research institutions, and the transportation infrastructure. So it's both a science and an art. And back to this idea of the role of taxes, one of the reasons that Chemours and AstraZeneca both decided to stay in Delaware was the single sales factor calculation. I mean, Delaware will have one of the most attractive corporate income tax schemes in the Northeast because of this move, because of this recalibration.
How much does it play into it? And because I always feel like this must play into it. How much does it play into it where the CEO wants to live or where the board wants to live?
Those qualitative issues matter. You need to attract and retain a workforce, an executive class that wants to live in a particular market. A great example of this is the Hertz relocation to Southwest Florida. They announced Estero, Florida. A big reason why is, that's a market where a workforce can easily be attracted. There's no personal income tax in Florida. And of course, all the qualitative benefits that the Gulf Coast has to offer. So it is a mix of both. And a case can be made for Delaware, proximity to beaches, proximity to Philadelphia Airport, which has an impressive roster of nonstop flights to major markets. All the cultural amenities within an hour's drive of here distinguish the market as well.
And you can get to Washington, D.C. easily, you can get to New York easily. I understand all of that. I guess the question is, why aren't we doing better? So what's the one thing we should be doing?
Resist the pressure to raise taxes. Obviously, the governor has a $350 million budget deficit to deal with. It looks like there'll be a mix of new tax hikes, both a personal income tax hike as well as increases in property taxes. We think a smart alternative to that would be to think about doing a sales tax. A sales tax is the least onerous tax from an industry attraction perspective.
It's like the holy grail in Delaware, isn't it?
Yeah, but the reality is only 5 states today don't tax sales tax. And the retail industry represents only one part of the overall economy, and these are jobs that aren't paying well. And so, in terms of an industry attraction perspective, I would like to see the state move in that direction, as opposed to follow states like Connecticut, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania off of the cliff with out-of-control property taxes.
So sales tax wouldn't keep away companies?
No, it would not.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Thanks.
Appreciate
Appreciate it. As always, John Boyd Jr., consultant at the Boyd Company Incorporated. Wait a second, you're more than a consultant. It's your name on the top of that company.
My dad founded our firm 42 years ago. So,
oh, that's wonderful. It was something I always quote you on is what we're going to talk about with our next guest, and that is the DuPont layoffs. John says it's an opportunity. We'll find out what our next guest says about the 600 people being laid off by DuPont when the Delaware Way continues.